Alright, welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic Lesson Known Classics. This is episode number 3441, Doubleshot number 3335. Yes, my longest review series that I've done now for a little over 12 years. But this year basically is the 13th year I've done this so far. I did check this. Apparently I did the first video in October. I think it was October. I'm trying to remember. I think it may have been October of 2013. I did this. Yeah, the fact I've done this for this long is quite something. The fact that I've also noticed basically when I've done this series, I think once I've actually reviewed the same trade twice, and that was the second trade for Just Like America, Survivors of Evil. Yeah, I reviewed this trade by accident twice. I didn't realize it, look up later. But I was trying to make sure, aside from that one time, I try to make sure I don't review the same thing twice. And this one, nope. This is basically... Now, the thing is with this particular these two trades here, by the way, they're both Star Trek. It's the current Star Trek books published by the IDW. Yes, where this is basically... Let's have these two series take place same period of time, and you can say, based on these two particular series, that this is just after events of Voyager, given the fact one of the character period here, and well, this is the parent series. There's also the Star Trek Defiant series. I'll discuss it next. First up, we have is Star Trek Volume 2: Red Path. Now, the last time I discussed this series was actually a physical trade, and here's the weird thing about this series. I was lucky to find that at IDW booth at Comic-Con. It was made in Orlando just a few years ago. I was lucky to find the damn thing, and here's the weird thing since then. I don't think I ever found it online, but in stores. I get it so quickly. So this book in particular is the second volume for the series, and there's a reason why I'm discussing Volume 1 of Defiant, which is the spin-off of this. So this book contains Star Trek Volume 2 issues 7 through 10, along with the 2023 annual. Which, not a big fan of basically books being called that, but it's the first annual of this book. Written by Colin Kelly and Jackson Lacey, artwork by two different artists here. Well, for the main book, it's Mike Fuhan. Rachel Scott does the artwork for the annual. Now, according to Colin Kelly, I think it was Colin Kelly Jackson, one of my, I actually met him at Comic-Con. He told me that this was them having fun. This is basically a separate continuity from what the continuities have from the movies, the TV show, and the novels. Because, of course, there's one character in this book who in the novels has a completely different name. I'm guessing this book takes place in the year 2378, given the fact Tom Paris is here. So we start off with, get this, we have Cassidy and Jake, and we see Ben meeting his daughter. You think, oh, it's Rebecca. Nope, Sarah. Yes. Okay, a bit of an explanation for this. So, in the Star Trek novels, Ben Sisko's daughter is named Rebecca. Here, still has a daughter, which I'm glad the fact Colin Kelly Jackson doesn't get the fact he had a daughter as second child. Probably has a small nod to the novels, but they changed her name to Sarah. Do I have a problem with that? Not necessarily. Get back to this different continuity. It's another deviation from what basically the regular timeline does. So he do so to his cute little daughter, and then Cassidy and Ben basically bond. There's a fun where Jake basically is just playing with his adorable little sister. And I talk about Family Picnic. And then, of course, we cut to, get this, Data and Dr. Crusher in Davos. Well, in Quarks. And then Dr. Crusher uses to Quark, which, by the way, these two Here's a little weird fun fact about these two. Did you know these two are actually supposed to meet in Star Trek Next Generation in the two-parter Chain Command? And you're probably saying, really? Yes, apparently the original plan in Chain Command was to have it was Picard, Worf, and Dr. Crusher. Apparently the original plan was not going to Deep Space Nine to win in the episode. Apparently the original plan was to go to Deep Space Nine, because Chain Command, that two-parter, was meant to be a backdoor pilot into Deep Space Nine. But apparently Deep Space Nine's pilot wasn't ready yet, so they changed it to this other Ferengi, and this Ferengi that they're talking to in the episode, that was meant to be Quark. That's a story I've heard, which I find that interesting. In fact, Chain Command is a really good two-parter, though it has a weird ending in part one. We have this Cardassian who basically strips Picard, use a knife of his black suit, where he's basically he's almost butt naked because they think on his ankles. It's a weird ending for one of the episodes. This is the only episode of the entire series ends like this for a two-parter. I'm sure some ladies who probably watch this probably enjoy seeing Patrick Stewart's rear end on screen. Yes, we did. It's not one of my favorite things to see ever in any kind of franchise. So, moving on. So, then, of course, basically... Now, I'm wondering if basically this is Colin Kelly. He probably knew about this. About these two supposed to interact in Next Generation. Though Quark did interact with... I kid you not. He interacted with... though Deep Space Nine did make an appearance on Next Generation... in an episode involving guest appearance by it was a two-parter. It was not Redemption. I'm trying to think which one was the name of the one. It was the one focused on Worf and Data. Where in part one we have a guest appearance by Julian Bashir. Yes, who was doing experiment in engineering. Quark makes appearance briefly in part two. He sort of has a screen interaction with Riker. It's a very brief interaction, and that's it. And this particular two-parter was the first time Worf had been Deep Space Nine, though when you watch the show, there is no reference to the fact that, well, he had been there before, because based upon the way it was written, the way of the Warrior, it's almost like the first time he's ever been on the station, it's like he's been there in the show. I watch the show, that's why I know this. So then we have Kira Nerys, who... Now, all the Starfleet uniforms look different in this series, for reasons. And now Kira's is gray for some reason, so I think in the show was red. I do appreciate the artist keeping in line with basically how the uniform was supposed to look. So we're introduced this one big, stocky Bajoran man who ended up joining Sisko's crew. By the way, he's the only person who crew refers to Sisko, not by captain, but by emissary. So basically, Dr. Crusher is medical officer, Data is the first officer, Scotty's the chief engineer, Tom Paris is the helmsman. Because they have to throw in the whole thing of that. And we have this Vulcan who's here. I think this is the same Vulcan from... I think this is Tolar. So then we have this funny... Now, apparently... So they have this Andorian here who... She's later been confirmed to be a descendant of one of the characters from Star Trek Enterprise. I'll get to who she's related to later. And then we have two characters who never interacted forever in live action. Scotty and Tom Paris. And you're thinking... They never interacted before? Well, the main reason because Scotty only appeared... here's the thing. Scotty's appearances in live action, now the James Newton version, he appeared in the original series, all 3 seasons. He appeared in all 6 movies. And he appeared in one episode of Star Trek Generation. By far, one of my personal favorite episodes of the show, and one of the most best episodes written for the show, Relics, which of course basically there's a joke in the episode about must be Kirk must brought on mothballs, which when they brought that line up in a later novel, they kept that in because Scotty believed that Kirk was still alive despite Defend Generations happening in the books too. So, and then we have Sisko saying goodbye to Cassidy, and then of course, then all of a sudden we have Cardassian Prime under siege by what looks to be the Jem'Hadar. Yep. And the reason why this is, well, and think, they're retreating. And then, of course, by the way, Scotty wearing the outfit he wore from the movies. It was from, I think, Wrath of Khan he wore this outfit, but interesting he brought this outfit back here. So, like, Ben says return at last. And so, apparently, there's been a coup d'etat on Cardassian Prime. So, this guy's name is Brada Damar. You're thinking, wait, Damar? He died in the show. He did. He got killed by the... I think I remember correctly. I think I got killed by the Jem'Hadar, if I remember correctly. So, Damar himself... So, this guy here is Damar's nephew. And Sisko is put on trial apparently for war crimes. Yes. For war crimes, for reasons, and apparently, Data can't see him for reasons, despite the fact he's first officer. And then we find out who his attorney is. Sisko's attorney is none other than Elam Garak. And you're probably thinking, why is he on Cardassian Prime? Quite simple, really, because at the end of Deep Space Nine, he stayed on the planet. And from what I remember, I think he actually lives in his late father's home in Auburn, Tane. Yeah, he basically just took over the house because legally it's his because he's Auburn Tane's biological son. There was a line mentioned that two-parter, which was a prologue to Dominion War, where Elam basically Auburn Tane is like, I should have killed your mother before you were born. Because Garak is such a fun character. Andrew Robinson did a great job playing this character. Over the course of 14 episodes across 7 years. Yes. So he's put on trial. And there's all sailing ship. And of course, it's like, let's put Sisko on trial for a reason. Yes. So... then we have where, like, everyone blames him for Damar's death, despite the fact he had nothing to do with Damar's death. Nope, he did not. He was killed by, like, if I remember correctly, I think Damar was actually killed by, it wasn't it was a Jem'Hadar killed him in the show. He got killed in, I believe, was a series finale, which, of course, if I remember correctly, Kira didn't like him very much at all because he killed Gul Dukat's daughter. And her death basically drove Gul Dukat insane. So then, of course, like, this topic we have a witness. Yeah, it turns out... By the way, here's a little weird fun fact with this. Only the second ever human be tried on Cardassian Prime. The first one was actually Miles O'Brien. Yes, Miles O'Brien. And... now, the way this is shot, the way this is designed here, it's like the way they designed the Cardassian court. It reminds me of the court from Star Trek VI. Except Sisko's in a barrier for some reason. And then, apparently, this guy is he does explain the whole Jem'Hadar thing from the show, which I'm glad the fact they threw all the continuity with the... They basically, let's basically do all the continuity. Let's basically, so we have... They got Lauren Luminat White. That's basically the one who appeared in that one episode which mentions the whole thing of Ketchup White. Ketchup White, it doesn't know what the heck that is. It is a drug that the Jem'Hadar lives on. They don't eat, they don't drink, they're just high on this drug. And if they don't get this drug, they suffer through withdrawal. Not kidding about that. There's actually an episode of, I think it was season 6, where they had like 2 left in this whole thing. And eventually, or who saw the ability of the Jem'Hadar, or the other Rex who learned the ways of mercy. Though I always appreciate, though, that this is a different design Jem'Hadar, because generally put all the makeup for every single Jem'Hadar who ever appeared on Deep Space Nine, generally put out the same exact design. Now, you look at this guy, he does not look like a Jem'Hadar, but apparently he is. This guy is a Jem'Hadar according to the writing. And Sisko's pronounced guilty. Of course, they go to a space station that looks like, I'm sure, based on the writing here for the comic, it's like this is supposed to be Empok Nor. Yes. And of course, reference to Dexon Hill, obviously. So you're thinking, wait, that's Empok Nor? It looks different than in the show, because on the show it appeared like 3 times. Yes, Empok Nor, if you don't know what the heck that is a sister station to Deep Space Nine. Basically, the original name for Deep Space Nine was, I think it was, Terok Nor. That was the original name of Deep Space Nine. And when the Cardassians took over during the Mini War, it was called by that name. And then once the Cardassians left, it was renamed Deep Space Nine. The 3 episodes they appeared in was, one, in Self-Empok Nor, the episode where Garrick went nuts and pretty much killed almost the entire Starfleet crew because of basically a drug in the air. The second one, where it was a magnificent Ferengi, where the plan was to have this Vorta be transferred to get basically Quark's mom. Yep. And there's a funny bit, basically, let's test that blood by popping his head, which is so funny. And then, of course, and by the way, there's a connection to another episode, which is from the Playing with the Ketchup White stuff. And then they captured a different Vorta, because the other Vorta they had, he basically died. And so he moved basically Weekend at Bernie's style. Yes, I know Weekend at Bernie's is because I've seen Weekend at Bernie's 1 and 2. The 3rd episode that appeared in was not a very memorable episode. I only kind of remember it because I've seen it maybe once. The episode itself is basically where G'Kar is a follower of the Power Wraiths, and basically he set up, believe it or not, a cult of Power Wraiths on the space station. Because figured out why not. And then we have Starfleet busting into place, and then we have Red Path, which I'm thinking this is supposed to be Empok Nor. They don't say it's Empok Nor. And then we have Sisko hallucinating. He's talking to Dukat. Yes. Now, here's the thing about Dukat. Dukat, they never confirmed he actually did die. I'm assuming he's sealed. How he's here, it's probably due to the Power Wraiths. That's probably the reason for it. And then, let's have these followers of the Power Wraiths, have this shootout, and then we have reinforcements. And then, of course, basically, Sisko got guilty for apparently war crimes. And then the Mars nephew proceeds, fire, presumably on Sisko, but he actually fires in the crowd. Yes. And then we had the majority of the crew find a orb of creation, which is one of the sacred orbs of basically Bajor. By the way, did you know there's actually one orb that's actually under armed guard? Yes. You're probably thinking, which orb of Bajor is under armed guard? The Orb of Time, which causes time travel, which they use that twice in the show. First being in the trouble, basically trials and tribulations. The other episode where it basically Kira and Nerys had to go back in time to figure out if G'Kar actually slept with her mom. Yes, seriously. So, and then we have Talar basically bombing the damn thing, and also the ship has got a ship's wheel because of course it does. And then Cardassians show up, and of course, he's about to be executed. And he's basically strung up on the same exact type of thing Picard was on Chain of Command. And fire! And then kills the crowd. Yep. He was a fool, puppet tyrant. Of course, here's Damar, which, here's a weird little fun fact about the actor. Did you know he was actually married to the actress who played B'Elanna Troy? Not B'Elanna Troy, B'Elanna Torres from Voyager? You're like, really? He was married to her? Yeah, this is her ex-husband. No, I'm not kidding about that. He seriously is. Yeah, they're no longer married. So, yeah, and then we have backup, and then Victory is Life. It's so fun, this thing. And then apparently this secret weapon aboard the station is none other than a founder who then is killed by the Cardassian. Actually killed by a Vorta for a reason, and then they go back to the station, they worship it, and then of course the book ends with basically leading into the Day of Blood crossover, which I'll discuss in the next point. And then we'll talk about the ending. The ending was a lot of fun. Oh my gosh. So, it's another day on the ship. I think it's called the Nautilus, I think it's called. Yeah, and then we have, get this, we actually kind of have Tom Paris talking to the Andorian, which I'll reveal who she is soon. Now, you probably think, is Tom hitting on her, despite the fact he's happily married and has a kid? No. He just gave a good pointer. He's basically like a father figure to her. There's even an American character on the ship for reasons. Apparently, get this, so Data had decided to bring poker on board the ship, and he had Spot playing on the table, which is so funny. Yes, Spot playing on the table. And then you have Scotty just drinking in engineering. Probably one off day. And then it says to fill it. And then, we have to go to the holodeck where, get this, he smiles because, of course, Kirk is there on the original Enterprise. Yeah, this is a William Shatner version. Like, good to see you. Yep. And, yeah, he knows another real Kirk. And then, of course, you have them operating the controls, which is so fun. And then, for some weird reason, we have various different versions of the Enterprise just show up, including the Phoenix from Star Trek First Contact. Like, I thought this is awesome. And then, apparently all these ships, including Voyager and the NX-01 Enterprise, even Defiant fighting the Continuous Class Enterprise for reasons. And then, this is weird. So, get this. So we have Cisco, Scotty, and the fake Kirk wandering some corridors. We have the Andorian go to Enterprise Bridge. We have Data and Talar go to, trying to think, like, I think this may have been Defiance Bridge. By looking at it, I think it's Defiance Bridge. Anyways, where was I? Oh, yes. And then we have, looks like Tom Paris is on the Phoenix with Zephyr Cochrane. And then, okay, so, we got intruders. Oh, so I know Data, so it turns out that Data and Talar are actually on Discovery. Yes, they're on the U.S. Discovery because we actually have their chief engineer here. Yes. And then we briefly see the Bajorian, I can't remember his name, he's on the HMS Enterprise from First Contact. The First Contact from Generations. Not sure why it's here. And then we find out that this Andorian is actually a descendant of Hoshi Sato. Yes. And she refers to her ancestor as Hot. Yes. Or apparently she knows how to speak Andorian. Yes. So this implies that, yeah, it's interesting though. Because here's something interesting about Sato. Did you know she's actually the second member of the Enterprise cast to appear in the IDW comic books? You're like, really? Who was the first? Fox. Sato was interesting. Yes, a character who, over the course of 4 years, never got promoted to beyond ensign. Though in the novels, I think she eventually got engaged to another guy, and I think eventually they got to Andorians, and she smiles. And then we had Kirk, Cisco, and Scotty surrounded by Captain Pike. Except this is not Discovery, this is a different version of Pike. This Pike here is not the Captain Pike from the Prime timeline. Oh, no, no, no. This is Ultimate Prime Pike for reasons. Yep. I found this book a lot of fun, and it's called Photons Be Free. Yes, so they find a book of Photons Be Free. So, okay, so what is Photons Be Free, you might ask? Why, it's actually from the episode Author, where basically the doctor on the show decided to fight for his rights as a creative writer who wrote Photons Be Free, and the version that was released was not the one he wanted released. And because apparently he had no rights, though they took it to court, and eventually he won. And apparently there's a book about it for some reason. Yeah, it's an episode of Voyager from like season 7. Yep. And then, like, yeah, we have this. And of course, then we have Scotty saying goodbye to his captain, get this little cube. This book is a lot of fun. Oh my gosh, this book was so good. 10 out of 10. Awesome. Next up we have is Star Trek Defiant. Yes, where the cast of this book is Worf, who's captaining a stolen Defiant, with Rolaren. Yes, that's who this Bajoran is. And did you know Rolaren was actually supposed to be Kira Nerys? Well, she was supposed to be the first officer of Space Nine. She was supposed to be Rolaren, the connection to next generation. But I think I heard something. It was like scheduling conflict or whatever. So they changed to Kira Nerys instead. And we have Spock. And who is his android? Is that Data? No, we find out who it is. This book contains the first 5 issues of the series. So, written by Christopher Cant, work by Angel Uzuda. Yep. So basically you have Worf trying to get access to this console, but it's denying him, so he throws on the floor, and then Spock's like, yeah, Spock is here. Yes, Spock is here, despite like he should be on frickin' Romulus. But no, he's here. Spock can sometimes basically sneak away from Romulus. He was even like that in the books too. So at least basically that Christopher Cant, at least basically that they're keeping Spock in line with how it was written in the novels, which good to him for doing that. And yeah, so then he gives him the access code to override, so he can base him a captain's log, because he's kind of in a way the captain of the ship, especially if it's a ragtag crew. So the whole thing with this book here is that it's basically built to Day of Blood crossover, where Worf's Alexander has been converted into the Code of Kahless, who's trying to overthrow the Empire. So this is a lot built for that. So Worf crashes ship on a planet which turns out to be a outpost run by the Romulans, which of course so apparently, get this, Worf is still technically an ambassador, despite the fact that he is in Starfleet uniform now, but okay. So yeah, they're on Defiant, and here we have B'Elanna talking to Tom. Yeah, B'Elanna is here too, because of course she is. But here's a really question. Where's their daughter Maro? Good question. So yeah, basically they're doing their own thing. And of course, it's sort of like stealth ops. This was kind of something that he was doing by the time Picard. So you have Ro at the helm, We have Spock kind of backing his first officer, though he basically staying behind Worf. So then he's here with another. He's talking to a Klingon, basically with Martok. Martok is basically sort of his brother by house, whatever, by ritual. And then we go to the storage room where apparently Worf is reactivating lore. And the first thing he said is, "Where is this? Where is Data? Where's Captain Picard? I am the captain now." Yes, for some reason they decided to bring back lore. Which, this could be the first time he's appeared since the two-parter Legacy, which basically was the end of Season 6 and beginning of Season 7 for Next Generation. Yeah, the whole thing with that was to wrap up two loose ends from the show before the show wrapped up. One, following up from the episode I, Borg, and the other was following up with Lore, who had not been seen since Season 2 of the show. Yes. So Lore is working with them. Yes. And the book does bring up the crystalline entity, which was destroyed in the following episode, which was not that good. Yes. So then we have Worf and Spock go undercover. And basically, a lot of this is like sneaking around. You're probably thinking, like, is Lore getting his body back? Well, we find out and see. They destroyed all. Apparently, this is what he mentioned. All the crystallines, they've all been destroyed. Yep. So, yeah. And of course, fight through the Orions, because of course they have to. Which, the Orions here are. Now, for some reason, they wear these weird masks for some reason. Like, these are apparently the Orions. Yep. Well, the male Orions, anyways. There's a joke in Enterprise where apparently the female Orions control them. Yep. So, they beam over. They talk to him. In Enterprise, the Andorians actually kidnapped some members of the Enterprise crew, including T'Pol. Yep, they kidnapped T'Pol, which later he freed. Well, Archer freed him because basically the line was, "You stole our merchandise," and Archer responded, "You kidnapped my crew." End of story. Yep. So now the Orions do not take the crew as slaves. They just do take prisoners. Though we have Ro Laren beat the crap. We have Ro and B'Elanna get into a little fight, and then they basically beat up a bunch of Andorian, basically Orions. Worf gets shot. But looking at basically like there's a big conflict here, and now it looks like that Spock is considering giving Lore back his body. Yes, seriously. By the way, in case you're curious, how did Data deal with Lore in that episode? He shot him with a phaser, and somehow it deactivated him. So, yeah, and then of course Worf gets the bridge. Well, the bridge under control by Lore. And I appreciate the fact that Lore is wearing the outfit from that two-parter Legacy, which good on basically the artist remember what the heck his outfit looked like when he last appeared. And of course, he continued fighting them per se. Now, here's the weird thing: Lore has never met Ro Laren. Nope, never did. He only interacted with the Next Generation crew, like, in a way, maybe twice. The whole show. He never met Ro. Not even his last appearance on the show, he never met Ro. He basically just interacted with Data, Picard, Counselor Troy, I think Worf, and Riker. And that's it. He never interacted with Ro Laren, because I think she was gone at that point. So, yeah, this is interesting. So then, of course, the Orion, who apparently just turned against his own people, just decided to well, heal up Worf so he can take back his ship. And he does. So apparently Lore is willing to give up command. Yeah. He's like, F my breathing. I'm sure in the case of Lore, now in the case of Worf, he's probably the only person here who's actually interacted with Lore. He doesn't trust him, but he doesn't like him, but he has to work with him. Then we have this weird interaction between, we have Lore next to Spock. And then we have like basically a shuttlecraft where it's powered by Lore with Spock, which is interesting that these two would interact. Now, Spock being here is fine, given the fact that he's a Vulcan. Scotty being present day, that was due to a time displacement. That was due to a transporter thing. So, he was in a transporter loop for like 80 years, so he got back. And then we have fight with some Klingons. And then, Sela returns. Yes. Which, that's interesting. Yes, oh yeah, she's one of a Tashiar, but not the Tashiar that everyone knows. Oh no. Because Tashiar everyone knows she died. Though the reason why that she died, because she actually wanted to leave. She actually hated the writing. And also, one of the things she despised was being legs behind Picard. Where she also complained they were literally just painted behind him just to imply the fact she was there. Because a lot of times she didn't really do anything. She hated the dialogue she was given at the time. She actually liked it. When she was brought back via Enterprise, she liked it so much they made her they made Denise Crosby Sela. So yeah, and Sela is from that, basically the daughter of that Tashiar, not the Prime Timeline 1 version. So yeah. And Sela's here reluctantly helping out, because of course she is. And I thought this was kind of funny. Captain, you are injured. You are in the company of Captain Sela. Come here, Sela. Sela. And Laura's like, Data's girlfriend's daughter. Wow. Is it weird to say, almost like her family? And Sela's like, hey, you must be Data's fun-loving brother. Yes, this is funny. Thank you, Christopher Cantwell, for this. This is so funny. For two characters who never interacted before, and for to Sela as Data's girlfriend's daughter, that is actually kind of funny, given the fact that they actually did sleep together on the show in episode 2 in the naked time. Seriously, it's so funny. And it's a funny interaction. All about codes, and then of course Worf gets angry and picks the freaking table and smashes the screen because he's angry. Like, apologies, not necessary. Yeah, it's all about adrenaline. But of course, basically, he probably tells the engine to fix the damn table. Yep. And then we have Ro Laren talking to the Orion woman. And he's like, quite the errand boy. Do you need a suit? No. I drifted open space for 2 years, but I'd rather not damage any thermal circuits this time. Yes. Okay, so that was due to the episode Data Lore, his debut episode. He was basically shoved to space. He returned in the episode Brothers in season 3 of the show. That's where he returned. And then he returned to Legacy. So, good on Basic. I love all the continuity nods. I kind of wish they would put editor's note here. It says, I drifted in space for 2 years. Editor's note, this is revealed in the episode Brothers. I kind of wish they would have done it, but really, IDW? Like, I get the fact, yes, this is basically your take on what happens next after all these shows. But could you please put in these freaking continuity notes? Like, put these editor notes like, hey, watch this episode. You know, I know because I've seen the episode multiple times. Yep. And then, of course, yeah, and we have more build up for. We have Alexander being brainwashed, obviously, and then more build up for the awesomeness that was Day of Blood, and that's it. Yeah, basically the book ends with kind of in a way Worf contacting. He basically puts a contact to Cisco, which happens in issue 12, which is discussed already, and that's the book itself. Overall, fantastic book. I give both books a 10 out of 10. Fantastic. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about a while because it's Star Trek. I love talking about Star Trek. So that's pretty much it for taking a video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, to notifications. Next up is OG wants to be a commentator. Okay? Thanks, you. Bye.